Welcome to the 47th edition of Women's Wrestling Weekly, the show. Kyle Klingman here, Scott Beck there. Post 2025 World Championships recap. We were like kids in a candy store, waking up at 3:30 in the morning, 4:30 for you, watching it through its entirety. The overview is that Japan is still the best women's wrestling country in the world, even with some of their backups. Second place was North Korea, followed by Russia. If you want to count them in the team scoring, of course, UW does not after the invasion of Ukraine. China in fourth, and the United States either in fourth or fifth, depending on how you look at it. Scott, why does it feel like even though Japan dominated, had five champions, it still feels like North Korea may have been the best team in the tournament? I know they weren't, but it seems like they were the talk of the World Championships.
Kyle, we talked about North Korea because I had seen some of the film in the Asian Games and who they beat and then who they even lost to very close in terms of Japan, some of the other countries. We talked about them. We knew to keep an eye on them. We knew they were good. The only thing is, they took seven athletes. So, when you don't have a full team, it's pretty hard to compete for a team title. What's really just scary, though, is if you look in the first six weight classes, they had two firsts. They had two heartbreaking losses in the finals. One of them was won on a challenge. One was won by just a brilliant last-second takedown by Helen. So that could have been four titles, but two first, two seconds. First four weight classes, they had two first places, and then a third and a second. It's really just unbelievable. And the word that comes to mind, I have been a student of Taekwondo for a long time, and one of the tenets of Taekwondo is indomitable spirit. And I think they wrestled with indomitable spirit. The question is it because they just innately have indomitable spirit, or they don't want to be executed for losing? And, I don't know, but I'm hoping in some sick way Kim Jong-un will be happy with the team's performance, even though they lost a couple of heartbreakers. And you even said, Kyle, that there was a talk that the athlete that lost to Helen in the finals gave up that last-second inside trip was in the hallway getting yelled at. And she was pretty good. We'll go through the weights. The other thing you say about Japan is, they won the tournament, dominantly. And one of their better, one of the biggest favorites in the tournament, I think Yoshimoto 50, didn't medal. So that just says a lot. So we'll go through it.
Team USA finished fourth in the technical team standings, fifth if you count Russia. 15-10 overall record. Helen Maroulis wins gold at 57 kilograms, and then you had two additional medals with bronze. Kylie Welker at 76 kilograms, Kennedy Blades at 68 kilograms. Had two seventh place finishes, which is the highest finish you can get if you do not get pulled into repechage. That was 62 kilograms with the Dugo Wachukwu, and at 72 kilograms with Alex Glaudet. Overall, as you look at the team performance, I don't think I'm surprised. It's a new look team. You're missing Sarah Hildebrandt, and you're missing Dom Parrish, who's a world champion, and you have a few other pieces that were not in play this year. Adeline Gray has not been in the mix for a little while, but you have a good crop of 76 kilograms. Amit Elor was not in the competition. She is the reigning two-time world champion at 72 kilograms. So some pieces were missing. I felt like there were some positives, especially with Alex Glaudet finishing the way she did. She got seventh, went 2-1. Adugo won two matches. So I think there's some things you can point to that were positive for Team USA.
This is about kind of what we thought. But what we had talked about was for us to have like a positive, maybe like a second place finish and a positive surprise, we would have had to get like the momentum and mojo going. And I felt like we never did as a team. It never kind of fed on itself. There were moments, we had some tough draws, and it's a very difficult tournament. There's definitely positives to take away from it. And I'm sure some athletes didn't have the performances they would hope for, but there's a lot of people standing in their way. It's a very challenging tournament, and the sport is only getting deeper and tougher.
Deeper and tougher, and it just shows that when you get a tough draw like Macy Kilty at 65 kilograms, she was in a medal match But she still, when you look at it, she had a good tournament. She gives up one big move in the first match, loses 6-6. So that 4 point move ended up being the difference in her win and gets pulled into repechage. Has a big win over Grace Boulin, who defeated her earlier in the year, and then loses a tough one in the bronze medal match. One of those weird quirks where you're in a round of 16, so you only have 3 matches to get pulled through. She goes 1-2. It just happened to be that chaos of giving up the 4 points in the first match ended up being the difference.
It was a tough draw and a deep bracket. I thought she wrestled well, actually, which sounds great. Not her best, and I'm sure she would be, not happy with the performance of Grace Bullen, and she didn't wrestle poorly.
Starting out at 50 kilograms, what a tournament for North Korea, and what a reaction after she won in the gold medal finals. It was hugs for everyone, hugging the officials, hugging even her opponent, and she picked up a huge win in the semifinals over Yoshimoto. It was a strange match where she had the leg for about a minute, minute and a half, and then finally finished and won 3-2, and then goes on and wins a gold medal. What a performance by North Korea.
I've never seen a celebration quite like that, but it was pure and it was emotional, and but it was really just unbelievable that she was just so happy and joyful. To look very young, it was phenomenal, and I think everybody watching it got a kick out of it. I mean, I was fighting back tears, to be honest with you. It was pretty amazing. I was hoping that she held the leg, and if she was trying to finish that, you're like, she should hold the leg in the air until the final 15 seconds, so Yoshimoto doesn't have any time to try to come back. But then again, you got to go and finish at some point, and get the two, which she did. And then Yoshimoto chased and couldn't get a final takedown. So that was weird. Audrey lost to Manuel Luigi, who's, been around forever. Her father, Coach Luigi, has coached Italy forever. She had an older daughter who was maybe a junior world champ or bronze. She's very seasoned, but she's mature and she's physical. She doesn't have tremendous accolades, but that was kind of what we talked about, where the people that might give Audrey trouble, are just physicality and size. And Audrey just really couldn't get anything going against her. And then, Luigi got dominated by China the next match, which eliminated Audrey. But, I think this is, it's part of the process for Audrey. It's part of experience. I do think, hopefully the weight might be changed to be a little lighter, which would be helpful for her. And then I truly think at some point, if the weight doesn't change, she needs to hit the weight room and just get a little more physical. I think that's one of the missing things for her.
I thought Yoshimoto was going to win this, being the world champion in 2021. She beat Sarah Hildebrandt in the finals, doesn't even medal. So this is where I probably had a check mark where you have to say I missed. And great job by North Korea for coming through. Even though I missed, it is interesting that she was still competitive in all the matches and was a position away from getting in the gold medal finals. So just shows you how inches and ounces on all these matches.
It's very binary. This to me was I had a couple of dead wrong ones, and if you would have said to me Yoshimoto not medaling, dead wrong, just utterly dead wrong. Not surprised North Korea came through. I knew she was going to be good. And as we said, Lee Vach for the number one seed had a horrible draw. Yoshimoto took her at 11-4, and she didn't medal, but we kind of were right about that.
53 kilograms, someone that you like from Japan who has a married name now, Haruna Murayama right now. She continues to win world titles. You have one of the best ever in Akari Fujinami not competing, but she's going to move up to 57 kilograms anyway. Yepes from Ecuador makes it to the finals, one of two Ecuadorians to make the finals. She got silver, and then 76 kilograms got the gold. Not surprised here at 53 kilograms.
I mean, I think we nailed this weight class. I mean, Okuno is one of I like the way she wrestles. She's, now a 4-time world champion that most people haven't heard of that watched the sport recently. And I'm still calling her Okuno. Sorry, Haruna. But, we like Yepes Guzman-Alat. She's very athletic. She's got that explosive double. We thought, she would come through the top, but we knew Anthem was good. Anthem took a bronze medal against Mulgrim of Sweden, who's good and young. North Korea lost that close match to Akuno in the semis. But, Akuno is just so positionally sound. She's just never out of her stance. She's as patient as it gets. And I think she took care of business. We spot on this weight. We said Felicity had just a very, very difficult draw and a very difficult weight and a very difficult side of the bracket. Ultimately, she lost to China, who was actually very good, who Anthem only beat 9-8 in a phenomenal match. If somebody wants to go back and watch a good match, that's a great. The Anthem Chang match was phenomenal. So I don't think necessarily, Felicity, she didn't look bad. I mean, it's funny to say that somebody gets beat dominantly, but she wrestled, I thought, hard, and she tried. It's just a very good athlete that came. That was that just didn't medal herself because she got taken out in the top side and couldn't get pulled back. But it's kind of, I think, that weight, to say chalk with an unseeded wrestler winning the world title, but that was chalk.
55 kilograms, second gold medal for North Korea going against Verbena in the gold medal finals. Uchida got bronze and Anna got the other bronze. Your feelings on this with North Korea, again, just doing what they do?
I knew this one was good. I had seen her in Asia. I'd seen film on her, and she looked really good. I'm not at all surprised. I mean, the surprise to me, I would say, I had a good call, I think, in Verbena, who made it to the finals. North Korea literally just ripped through the tournament. She took out bronze medal Uchida by fall. We didn't know where Uchida was going to be. I think great performance by Uchida. She got pinned by North Korea. I think the surprise to me, and I know she's tough and she's gotten better. She doesn't really have accolades, but Sana, dominated China in the first round, and that's who took out Christelle. Controlled the match, to be honest with you. Christelle just had a tough draw and a tough weight. And Christelle just didn't get pulled back. So again, I think she had a tough draw and a tough weight. We were right. I think we had pretty good sense of this bracket. With North Korea being tough and Verbena, Christelle's only going to get better, and I think this is a good experience. So I don't think it was necessarily a bad performance. She got cut back against Sana, so it really was one move. I really think if you take that one cutback before and Christelle got in a good leg attack, she's right in that match.
57 kilograms, one that we were right, but barely. Helen Maroulis dominates her way through to the finals, 3 consecutive matches to get falls, and then has a wild finish at the end. She's losing with under 10 seconds to go, then hits an inside trip and gets her 5th world and Olympic championship.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, Kyle, to be honest with you. We knew, we picked her. She was the one that we really thought would win. This weight wasn't the deepest, but it was very top heavy with a bunch of good athletes. Helen actually had a tough draw. She had to take out Takuhara from Japan, who she pinned with that foot sweep. And then, she had to take out Kodasheva from Russia, who was very good. And in the finals, this North Korean Son was exceptionally good. She ripped her way through the bottom half of the bracket and literally took out Keishin Hong, who is an Olympic bronze medalist, and just utterly dominated her. She detected 12-2. Blitzed her, ripped through her. I've not seen Hong lose like that in a while. And Helen looked great, just unbelievable discipline, focus, understanding of the sport. And coming back at the end of the match was her own indomitable spirit, where she was losing, and then she comes back, gets in, looks like she's in a leg. Son gets out of it, and it looks like Helen's done, and just hits a perfect inside trip. Which was unbelievable. And I think the Mat.com had a picture of that where you could just really see the perfect technique. It was an unbelievable win. So we were right about her. Hong wound up, didn't come through the bottom, but took bronze. Kodasheva from Russia. A little surprising. I would expect Takuhara to maybe take bronze, but she's very good. Just phenomenal job by Helen. Clearly, in my opinion, the GOAT, and just exceptionally impressive performance by her.
Let's break down Helen further. You're talking about someone who had looked like she might be stepping away, wins a blue belt world championship in no-gi jiu-jitsu, and then decides to come back, take her final X spot because she had won an Olympic bronze medal. So she had an automatic berth to the finals. In her interview, she said she wasn't in great condition, so she worked on pinning so she could get the matches over with quicker.
Okay, this is like insane. I think since Final X, I think I had, besides this match, it was like all pins except for one. So it's been like going off, I don't know, 6 pins maybe right now. But in May when I came back, I had a really big health issue. I had a histamine, like mast cell issue. So before Final X, I couldn't train. I couldn't do any training besides wrestling. My body would swell up, my joints would hurt, my weight was stuck. I didn't think I was gonna make weight. I couldn't do any conditioning. Like I literally couldn't do anything except just wrestle. And 2 weeks before, the doctors finally figured it out. So I changed and everything, the weight started coming together. Sorry, long story short, but basically I was 2 weeks out. I was like, I'm just going to start working on pinning because I'm not conditioned enough to go 6 minutes. I'm literally not conditioned enough. But if I pin, no one has to know that. And so I worked on it, and then it's been happening ever since. I'm like, sweet.
Looks great in the ranking series tournament. Looks as good as she has since 2017, as we mentioned. And then wins a world title, 5th world title, 2 days before her 34th birthday. What can't she do? Why is she doing this so well at this age?
Because nobody can beat her. Like, I think if she was all of a sudden losing, I think she'd, she has a high level understanding of the sport. And I think she's doing it because she loves the sport now. She's nothing to prove. And I think, she'd be, I can't believe I'm saying, she'd be like happy to step down if people were beating her. But until they can, she's dominating at ranking series. She's dominating at at world championships. And until proven otherwise, she loves it. And she's going to keep doing it, I guess. It's just unbelievable, really. I don't know what to say. And that doesn't really happen that often.
Unbelievable. And I think she said it best. You have to take it year by year, especially when you're at age 34 now. But LA 2028 is looming. She would be 37 years old at that time. It'd be a great story. I think that still has to be on the horizon, even if you take a step back for a while. I think that has to be in the back of your mind that I could possibly get to the Las Vegas World Championships in my backyard in 2027, Los Angeles in 2028. I think there's a lot of reasons for her to stick around if she feels like she can still be at the top of her game.
But, with Helen, you never know anything with Helen. Helen's Helen. And, I think she does what she wants to do as well. She should.
59 kilograms. We nailed this one. She is a U20 world champion this year. Also won the senior world championship. Sakura Onishi looked phenomenal. We said she was going to be the class of the field. She was the class of the field at the U20 world championships. She was the best wrestler regardless of weight there. And she was one of the best wrestlers regardless of weight at the senior world championships. Maybe not the best, but she certainly put herself in contention, and she's one of the best at her weight class.
And we said she was going to rip through this tournament, especially top half of the bracket, into the finals, and she ripped through. We thought Brugger was a kind of one of those quirky first seeds, based on just being everywhere, world bronze once. She got taken out. She was winning, actually. It was a tough loss. She got pinned by Taktuk of Mongolia in the quarters. In a match, she actually started to open up and pull away. And then Onishi just literally just rips through Taktuk. And then, we were right about the bottom, too. I said Maria Vinick, who has suffered a bunch of injuries. We thought, again, Bogner was a soft 2 seed in this weight. Vinick, Tech Hui, who's a world medalist in the a world bronze medalist in the quarters, and then Lawrence Borgard, I think is 4 or 5-time Pan Am champ. Got beat by Vinick 10-5. In a match, she seemed like she was kind of just getting controlled, and then Onishi goes and annihilates Vinick in the finals. But it was funny because Onishi got gut checked. She was up dominantly, and the Vinick came back, I think, got a takedown with a couple of turns. And next thing you know, it was 9-6. And then Onishi went into a different gear and 178 and pinned her. So great job by Onishi. Only a U20 athlete. We knew she was going to be good. She is good. I think we nailed that weight class for sure.
62 kilograms, another one of those gold medal finals between Japan and North Korea. Comes down to the not even final second, zero point 0.4 seconds. It is won on a challenge. At the end, a headlock, and it was exposure right at the end of the match, giving Sakura Motoki her first world championship after winning an Olympic gold medal. That may have been the highlight match of the tournament. just as far as drama is concerned, we talked about drama at 57 kilograms with Helen. This went even a higher level because of how close it was at the end. What a match, Scott.
It's an amazing match. Matoki got taken down late to be losing, and the 62 at North Korea, Kim is very good. And what was interesting to me was a couple of things. Number one, when Matoki gave up the lead, there wasn't much time. And she literally did about 6 different techniques in about 5 seconds. She tried an arm throw. She hit the headlock. But before that, she was trying to open her up. I was a little confused, to be honest with you, watching this. You and I were on the phone together. I don't see how the refs missed this straight out. North Korea was celebrating, thought she won. I saw the exposure right away, that the angle on that headlock. It wasn't necessarily a clean headlock, but there was definitely a break of the 90-degree plane, and I don't understand how they missed that first time. It is just a horrible way to lose a match when you think you won, and then it gets changed. But it was the right call ultimately, and that's why we have challenges. Matoki tends to win in dramatic fashion. She had the pin over Grace Boulin in the Olympic semifinals when she pulled something out. So she's got some indomitable spirit. The top half was all Matoki, dominated Porzward from Mongolia. Adugo, wrestled tough. I thought she'd beat Limburg, but Limburg's solid. She wrestled good against Mongolia, but Mongolia is very savvy. She's a world champion. I always mention she tech the show. She's just very seasoned and doesn't make many mistakes. Matoki blitzed her because Matoki's, Olympic champion. Good experience. As we said, she could go with people, probably, beat almost anybody. And she looked pretty good to me. Bottom half was just blitz. But Tandalova took out Godinez, which surprised me. To be honest with you, Tandalova had a pretty good tournament, got annihilated by North Korea in the semis, but came back on the backside to take a bronze medal. And, Mongolia won she took out Dudova, and very good match, with Kalawale and Mongolia for bronze. Kalawale looked tough, lost a tough match at the end. Didn't love the sportsmanship, to be honest with you. Just I don't even know if she shook her hand or just, obviously she was upset, but I'd like to see a little bit of sportsmanship there. Tough bracket, deep bracket, and great final match.
When we look at 62, I think Adugo should feel good about where she can go in this weight class. As we said, she can beat anyone, goes 2-1, gets 7th place, didn't get pulled back through, but I think if I'm Adugo, I'm feeling pretty good about how things went and that this is a building block for the future because she did have the big win at Final X over Kayla Miracle. Don't know what Kayla Miracle's future looks like. So for the time being, this is her weight class. And I think she should feel good about what she can build on and move forward from here.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that she there's a lot of positives to take out of this, and it's the first senior world championship, and she definitely can medal / contend for titles in this weight class moving forward.
65 kilograms, we mentioned Macy Kilty. She finds her way into these medal matches all the time at the Senior World Championships, even the age level. She's just always there. Still, you have to say she's probably the most consistent wrestler, or one of them, along with Helen, in the U.S. system because she continues to just show, even if she's in tight matches. She had that tough one in the first round, came back and beat Boulin, dominated her. And what I liked about that match against Boulin is she was like a dog on a bone. Just she knew what she had to do. She just stayed aggressive, and she just really took it to Boulin in that match and ended up getting a fall. And then just has a tough match in the bronze medal match. I don't think you should read too much into the wins or losses with Macy Kilty because she is going to continue to be consistent moving forward at 65 kilos.
Yeah, this was, we said, a very deep weight class. Casabieva looked, very good. She dominated. She pinned Boulin. She annihilated Mongolia, Tector. And then where I was wrong in this weight is I didn't give Miwa Morikawa the respect she deserved. She is a world champ. I said that. I said on paper she's probably the best. She's won at different age groups, but she had a tough half. Mikola Danko from Ukraine is a 2-time Olympic medalist. Mangassi is a world champion. and she really just Miwa looked great. I kind of thought Ringasio ultimately took a bronze, but Miwa just controlled Kolodenko 6-2, teched Ringasi, just beat her up, which surprised me. And then Casabieva, who looked great coming through a very difficult bottom half, just dominated 8-0. So kudos to Miwa Morikawa. I'm sorry. I disrespected you. I was wrong on that one. I thought, I knew she's good. I just thought it was Ringassi's turn. Dead wrong on that. On the bottom, kind of wrong too. I didn't expect Cass to be able to be Macy, but I underestimated her. She's really good, and she looked good. And here's the thing with Macy. Macy is as competitive a person as you'll ever meet in your life. So she, I hate speaking for people, but I promise you, she's not happy. But she's got to be, that was one move in the Casabieva match. Then she goes and she just dominates Bullen. Bullen had a bad tournament. She looked, you said it, Kyle, when we were talking the first round, she looked tired. She kind of didn't even look good early, in a match that we would have expected her, to pretty much, kind of dominate. She dominated Zhang, but even in the match, she looked a little tired, so she just, I don't know what was going on with her. But a great match for Macy to get some revenge in there, and then I don't know why that Mongolia just gives Macy trouble. They're just awkward and they wrestle their own kind of style. There was a weird position at the end, a kind of scramble on the edge where it looked like Macy was in a leg going to get the takedown. Mongolia kind of turned around the other way and just came in on top. I'm sure Mace would like that position and that match back, but kind of tough way to not win a medal. But she's always contending. I think there's things to take away. I like that she got revenge on Bulin, and she could absolutely medal in this weight class, so she contend for a title if things go her way.
68 kilograms, Ami Ishii looked good on her way to a gold medal. Had a tough match in the gold medal finals, but had a technical superiority win over Kennedy Blades in the quarterfinals. Blades, of course, comes back and gets the bronze medal and dominates in her bronze medal match over a world champion.
I mean, I think in our preview I think we nailed this when we said the winner of the Ishii Blades match was going to win the tournament, and Ishii did. Kennedy just didn't get it going. Stylistically, she just didn't get, Japan, Kennedy's got that just explosive style, great blast double, can open matches up. In Japan, Ishii's very positionally sound, and Kennedy just couldn't get it going. And then, Kennedy is better in matches when she's opening up and winning. And if she starts losing, she just couldn't get going in the match. I really liked the way she came back and took that bronze medal. And she had to beat Ukraine, and she did a great job as a former world champion and dominating the bronze medal match. Jia Long from China, who we said is a world champ, who went up. She came back and took the other bronze. I think where I was just absolutely dead wrong is I did not have Yaneva from Bulgaria coming through on the bottom. I was surprised she beat Zelenik, and and then I thought it was going to be kind of long as Zelenik that came through, or Kyrgyzstan, who got beat by Long 4-1 in the quarters. So didn't see that, and she really gave Ishii. It was a 4-2 match. So Yaneva is just hard to score on, and she's strong, and I would have thought Ishii would have dominated that one a lot more. I didn't give enough respect to Yaneva. I got to watch more film on her, but good job by Kennedy Blades. And I know that loss looked lopsided, but I think Kennedy can compete with Ishii. I don't think that's indicative of where the two are on a relative basis.
72 kilograms. We said this. Alex Glade got 7th place, went 2-1, didn't get pulled back through, but had a big win over Ferrucci in the second round, had a fall in the first round. Again, you're just looking at building blocks. We don't know what the future of Amit Elor is and what she's going to do. Presumably going to make that push toward LA 2028. At least that's what she's indicated on social media. This should make Alex Glade feel like she can compete. And if she's looking at 72 kilograms next year, I think she can be the front runner here going into the 2026 season for us domestically.
I thought Glade did a great job. I mean, she beat Uzbekistan dominantly in the first round by fall, and then she goes and takes out Ferrucci, and we were right about that. I said I thought she could beat her. Anytime you beat the world team member from Japan, who's a world champion. Belinska, who we mentioned, was good. Jump levels in this tournament from Ukraine. We first saw her at the World Cup in Coralville, where she won crucial matches to help Ukraine win the team title when they mattered. And I did not see her. She was up 11-6 and got a fall versus Nurseva. I did not see that happening. And then dominates Turkey in the finals. Boss, who's a good athlete, by fall. So great tournament by her. Clearly not a chalk tournament. I'm very surprised. I thought this was Kyrgyzstan's chance to finally get a world title, and was dead wrong about that. But good job by Belinska. Great job by Glade. She seems to be jumping levels to me.
76 kilograms will close it out. First world champion in the history of Ecuador. Genesis Riasco wins the gold medal. But I stand by this. I still say Kylie Welker, who got a bronze medal, I still say she's the best 76 kilogram wrestler in the world. She has teched Riasco, beat her at the Pan American Championships. I know it's not the world championships yet, but she now has 2 senior world bronze medals, 2 age level gold medals. It just takes getting over the hump. She was ahead in her semifinal match, just gave it away there at the end. But I think if Kylie Welker, who is 21 years old, if she still keeps on this track, she can get that elusive senior world gold medal.
Yeah, we certainly thought Kylie could win this weight class, and we both stand by that. She was winning in that match. The 8-3 score is not indicative of what that match was at all. Came back out of bronze medal. I think she'd like that match again. Meta's tough. She's very seasoned, but Welker can absolutely beat her, and I'm expecting her to. You're a big fan of Riasco. She's taken losses to Welker, and she's taken losses to Cuba Marin. Marin's very tough. Great job by Ecuador, the first world champ. It was a close semifinal when she beat Marin 5-3, in a close final when she won 4-2. She's very good. I'm looking, I think this is Kylie's second bronze medal. So we know she's consistent now. We know she's capable of world medals. She is capable of world titles. You and I both stand by that, and it's going to happen. I feel pretty strongly about that. And, again, I think she'd like to get a little a mulligan on that match and do it again. It seemed like it just slipped away from her. And sometimes that happens when you're winning matches and you make a mistake or two and they slip. It's hard to kind of keep your composure. And I think that's a maturity and experience thing, and she'll be able to overcome that.
Overall, let's look at this and let's break this down. The narrative for a long time is, who's going to catch Japan? Can we catch Japan? Japan dominates 5 world champions, 1 additional medalist. So 6 of 10, you have a medal. 5 of those are gold medals. Dominate without their A team. So you're potentially missing 4 of your best wrestlers were not in the lineup. Yui Sasaki, Akara Fujinami, Kagami, and I think one other one was missing in the fold of things. When we look at this, what does that say about Japan, that we talk about the narrative of you have to go after them, they can be beat? It doesn't look like it right now. They're still the top dog, and if you look at this performance, no one's even close.
They're really not. And the funny thing about it is, two of the non-placers are world champions, right? Ferrucci and Yoshimoto. And Yoshimoto had 2 tough losses. And talk is cheap. We could all talk about catching Japan. It's hard to catch them. I like, that we talked about this at the cadet level again. We still don't know who Japan sent. Or do they have these like assassins that they just, held back? I don't think they operate that way. So I think the younger levels we are, but it's a process. It takes time. If you look at the first, again, this was not Japan's A team. You don't have a Yui Sasaki at 50. And then you could sit there and say at 59, you literally just replace whoever's there, right? And it's not necessarily they're always winning 59, but they're competitive there. and then all of a sudden, you now have a new assassin in Onishi who is going to be a staple at the weight and beat Sainaza to make the team. So, um, but what's interesting to me, okay, is you know who is the best team in the world in the first 5 weights or 6 weights? That's an interesting discussion. Could it be North Korea? Maybe it is. I don't know. And then really, I'd love to know, like, who are they wrestling? Who are they practicing? Are they just practicing with each other? I love that FloWrestling had a video of the North Korean team warming up. That was a fun little clip to look at. But who's coaching them? Who are they wrestling? And it is an advantage that they don't compete a lot. I'm sure they study film on everybody. Everybody doesn't know them, but they're good. They're really good. So where is Team USA? We are in transition right now, where we have some of our staples. We have people like Inami Elor who will be back. At least that's what she says. And obviously her potential is unlimited. And we have some younger athletes that are coming up the ranks. And so we're in transition. I don't think our performance I think it's kind of what we expected. Something's good, something's bad. Even the people that didn't medal or maybe lost didn't necessarily wrestle bad. I mean, Macy did not wrestle bad. I don't think Rodriguez wrestled poorly. I don't think Aduba wrestled poorly. So I don't think Claude wrestled poorly. So it's I think it's kind of what we thought about. And could we have wrestled over a head and done better? Yes, but this is not really indicative of where Team USA is in the world. I think we're in a transitional phase here.
I think that's the one thing that's important in all this is that when you study it and you know the intricacies, I think sometimes you fall in love with the team and have unrealistic expectations of what will happen going into the World Championship. So you only know who a certain wrestler is, and you say, I love this wrestler, awesome, great person, but then you never know what's on the other side. And so that's the important part is understanding who you're up against and just saying, I like this wrestler. I want to see her win, which we all do, but then understanding that there are different levels to who you compete against and how you get through a tournament and how difficult it is. How many times do we say they just don't hand out medals? Just winning a match when you have a tough draw can be incredibly hard, and then you have to rely on someone else pulling you back through. So the system is set up so that it makes it nearly impossible to get one of those 4 medals if you don't wrestle flawlessly.
Yeah, or have a good draw. You could have one side could be stacked, and the seeding is, by nature it's difficult because it's ranking points, and when people switch weights, you get the landmines, you get Kunos, the Ishis that are randomly drawn in, and again, I think we were fairly. I don't want to say critical. I think we're fairly honest going into it, especially after when we looked at the brackets of what we thought, and it's very difficult, and this is deep. Women's wrestling is just getting deeper and better every single year. I think the U.S. is getting better and improving over time, but it's just a very difficult tournament, and especially in a transitional year. And yeah, it's easy to sit and say, oh, 8 of the 10 people or 10 of 10 are going to medal, and it just doesn't work that way. It's just you look, and it's not just Japan. China's solid. And this is a young India team, but trust me, India is going to do better, as we move through. And, Mongolia had a transitional team as well. So, I thought Russia as a team, UWW/Russia, but the Russians part of UWW, I thought had a very good tournament. And I probably underestimated them a little bit, in aggregate.
One thing I think is important in all this is that if you aren't going to get first, I think coming away with an individual world gold medal is a highlight point for any team because you want to see individual world championships. So I think regardless of place, whether it's fourth or fifth for the United States, that we came away and we got an individual world gold with Helen Maroulis. That sets a standard and that puts a highlight moment for the United States, something that you can draw on and say, we came away with an individual world gold. I think that's important, especially since there are a couple teams ahead of the United States that walked away and weren't able to say that.
Yeah, and also I think it's also important. We actually, if you look at our performance, really other than 57, and we did better, at the upper weights. But I think it's also, yes, we got our GOAT, got the world title, and beat a hammer in the finals, so she still got it. And that two of her younger upper weights both got, second world, Kennedy got, she's got the Olympic silver, got now as a world bronze, and Welker got a second world bronze. So that's consistency. And they're going to be around for a long time as long as they're healthy, and want to do it. So I think those are good things.
Scott, let's end with this. Let's go retroactively to the U20 World Championships. I don't know if you remember when Everest Leidecker shot that basketball shot in the World Finals. Have the backstory on that. Her dad had been upset with her that she had been playing basketball in the weeks leading up to the World Championships and shooting hoops, and said you shouldn't be doing that. So that was actually a little bit of a little jab at her dad shooting the basketball hoops and doing the swish. So didn't know the backstory until that. So Randy Leidecker was the reason that Everest Leidecker was shooting the basketball hoop in the gold medal finals because her dad did not want her playing basketball.
Yeah, that's a great story. I know Randy's a really good guy. He wrestled, and he's a big part of her support system, and that's funny. I did not know that. But I'll take wrestling over basketball. But sometimes it's good to do something else and get your mind off wrestling, and as long as you don't get injured.